What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we are back to break down the UFC 297 card going down this weekend from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Sean Strickland versus Driscus-Du Plessis for the Premier Division title in the UFC. And we got 12 fights to break down on this pay-per-view, top to bottom. Pretty okay card. A lot of Canadian fighters, but I'm joined by my co-host, as always, to break down the fights. What's up, Ozzy? How we doing this week, my man?
Event number 2 of the year, first pay-per-view. Is this the first time we've been in Canada in quite some time, or did they go to
Amanda
Canada last
Nunes
year?
versus Irina
That's
Aldana.
right. That was last year. That was Vancouver. Now we're a little bit more east in Toronto, and we're bringing the best title fight that they could bring. I mean, I love this title fight. The rest of the card, I would say, they just lack that next that secondary bout, like that feature bout.
Mm.
But we'll check it out. I'm not sure if I'll watch this more live, but I will catch the main event at some point for sure. And hopefully there's some bangers here. There's a lot of Canadians on this card, so I hope a lot of them lose. So spoiler alert for my picks.
Yeah, I hope so too. Unfortunately, they usually do stack the cards pretty well, and favor the Canadian fighters. Very WWE-esque matchmaking on some of these Canadian cards. And then if you guys remember the last time we were here, I think like three of the first four dogs hit in that fight. It was 289. So
Julian Erosa, was that when he won his fight or no?
no. Well, he's not Canadian, but Urke won as a big dog. Kyle Nelson won as a big dog. Zahabi won as a dog. Jasudavicius
Mm,
won as a dog. Um, MAB
mm.
won as a favorite. Malott won as a favorite. So last card, basically Canada won every single fight. Um, but they have
Now
more
when they
fights.
zig, we zag.
Yep.
Opposite this time.
Now,
Not happening.
now we have different fighters. But yeah, still a very Canadian heavy card. Last week was a good card to get back on the horse. In 2024. I enjoyed being back, really didn't make many live bets last card. That was kind of a rare thing for me, but did pretty good with some of the DK openers I hit and some other props as well. How about you?
Yeah, winning card. The only stumble I had was I think Tom Nolan, maybe one other spot. But yeah, for the most part did well. Lost on Phil Hawes, but had some other winners like the GTD and Mario fight. Who
Mm,
else?
that was a
Preston
good one.
Parsons. Preston Parsons was a good underdog pick for us that we both had, and a few others. Unfortunately, Waldo couldn't get it. Couldn't get the knockout there. But Andrei Arlovsky, the other thing I didn't tell you, Martian, another coincidence with Andrei Arlovsky is the first pay-per-view I ever bought right before I started doing jiu-jitsu was UFC 260 or 61, where Andrei Arlovsky was the main event, and he fought fucking Tim Sylvia, 5-rounder, the worst title fight in UFC history. I would say it was like the Carla Esparza Rose Namajunas fight at heavyweight, bro. It
I
was
never watched
check it
that one.
check that one out, bro. That one was an infamy back then. So it made sense that he posed like another when another Dominican was in front of him, he froze, bro. He
Yeah.
put together a stinker.
But I enjoyed that last card. Only real surprise was Nolan getting knocked out. I'd say everything else I think went pretty much to plan. And we went head to head, Bruno versus Hawes. I got the better of that one. So you gotta
Or Philip.
you gotta come back on this one. Yeah, I think Philip. I think he's done. I think he's done.
Yeah, he's
I'd
done.
say
He's
he's
done.
done. Um,
It's his birthday. It was his birthday the beginning of the year. So
and then Jim Miller getting the fucking job done. They
oh,
already got him booked again versus
good
Bob
guy.
Green. So
Mhm.
yeah, we things are looking up. Good start to the year. A little bit of a weak pay per view this week, but we're gonna break things down. We're gonna start things off, and as it is a little weak, right? But I feel like the main event, man, a fresh fight. DDP absolutely surging, undefeated in the UFC. Strickland coming off the big plus 500 win over Adesanya in Australia. I mean, this is as good as MMA gets. I mean, they were talking about doing a rematch versus Adesanya. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? Driscus-Du Plessis just knocked out Robert Whitaker, and you're talking about doing a rematch? Luckily, they went with the right decision, and we got this amazing fight. Sean Strickland versus versus Jourdain-Woodson Du Plessis. Odds for this one have Strickland -124, DDP coming back +104. And I'm gonna let you start this one off because you've been a DDP truther for a while now. You've been a believer, a supporter. I've been a critic, but I have come around a lot. And how could you not like this guy? Just nonstop entertainment. But let's hear your thoughts on the fight to start things off.
Yeah, really unique fighter Driscus is. He came in from that South Africa scene. Had only, I think, lost to the guy Roberto Soldic, or however you say his name. Maybe one other guy. But even in his first UFC fight, I bet against him. I took Marcus Perez as an underdog. Um, and when he got that knockout over him, I was like, man, like I had previously thought, because he had famously, I think, not had any decision wins. All his wins were by finish up until then. And obviously he got the finish. But I kind of put into my head, like, man, this guy just makes violent stuff, like stupid stuff happen, because he just goes for it, whether it be a submission or a knockout, like he's causing action in there. And I just decided to ride him, in all his fights since then, except for the Whitaker fight, unfortunately. But either way, how I see this fight and how I'm thinking about it is that yes, Sean Strickland is the better technical boxer on the outside. He has pretty good defense. He has shown he's got a lot of experience, 5 round experience as well. I'm trying not to let the fact that how Izzy let himself get walked down to the cage. He kind of let Sean kind of be able to use his defense to just keep the pocket range and just keep it in that close battle. Whereas Dricus, I feel, is going to be much less willing to give ground and much more willing to cause collisions and do, work in the grappling and be offensive. Where Izzy was in between of being reactive to what Sean was doing and being reactive and encouraging Sean to do stuff. And when he wasn't doing anything, he didn't really have a plan on how he's going to get off his strikes. So I feel like this fight is going to be much more of a contest or like battle. Whereas Izzy kind of just let Sean stay in the comfortable range where he could be sparring at that pace that he wants. Whereas Dricus, he's like overwhelming. Like he's the physicality that he brings and the strikes that he finds is very potent. So I think that he might be able to use his kicks early on. But he's gonna have to do damage early. And if Sean is able to be on the front foot, bypass a lot of the stuff that Dricus is going to throw at him, whether that be takedown attempts or big strikes or combinations, and stay on his same rhythm and keep throwing his straight shots. I do think that Sean Strickland has a big advantage as the fight goes on, but I don't think laying juice on against Dricus is for me. So I think I'm gonna just pass in this fight, but I would favor it to go to not go the distance, because I feel Dricus is either going to really land significant strikes and potentially hurt Sean, or he'll tire himself, or it'll be a very hectic fight and he could get caught along the way. So this might be a fight, if you're playing maybe DraftKings, that I could see a war going on here, or I can honestly see Dricus knocking Sean out early. But so I'm gonna just pick Dricus just because I want to be in the world where Dricus is the champion. And yeah, we'll see if I could nail the main event pick, the first kind of like pick 'em fight that's a main event of the year.
What about the over 2.5? What do you think about that?
I can see that hitting
It's
because
plus
I feel
plus
I feel
120.
there'll be some clinching, maybe some takedowns. But man, Dricus pours on the gas and he starts throwing strikes. And Sean's been hit a lot, man. His defense is good, but in a lot of these fights, he is absorbing some significant strikes as well. So Dricus just finds the chin. He's quick, but again, man, he's like a Johnny Bravo. Like he's just like a crazy character. So his skill for skill on the feet, I do think that he could have an issue with Sean, but I just feel that he's gonna live up to the moment.
I misspoke. It's actually pick a -115 for the over 2.5. Yeah, I think it'll get there because you said it ends ITD. I mean, that is -325. So I was just trying to get your opinion on if it goes over 2.5. I think you're leaning yes. I would as well. I really like what you said about the difference in like the basically the intensity of the fight. Like Izzy was just letting himself get walked down, was letting his back get to the cage, and he kind of got a little like neutered in that fight after he got dropped. He was never really able to turn it on. And you heard him say this week or recently in an interview where he was asking his coach like, "Oh, what round is it? Should I let it go?" And his coach was like, "Oh, it's round 5. No, stay technical." Well, I mean, like you're down 3-1. Like you can't stay technical. I mean, he just fought really poorly in that fight, but I don't really see DDP making that happen, man. I think his fights are just so chaotic and high action and intense that there's no way it's gonna be like a pedestrian sparring fight like that Izzy fight was. And I think the first few rounds are going to be hellacious here, man. I mean, betting the over 2.5 is risky because DDP comes out so hot. And I think if anyone's finishing under 2.5, it will be DDP. I don't think Strickland finishes under 2.5. That would surprise me a good amount. Just because he doesn't hit significantly hard, and the only guy who's finished under 2.5 is like Brendan Allen and fucking Abu Smagomedov, who just can't take damage and bad cardio. So I think if Driscus is getting finished here, it will be in the second half of the fight. And I do think Strickland -124 is value. I do cap him um, probably closer to 60%, I would say here. But now I'm also thinking I'm weighing out the options on if I want to go in before the fight or wait for live, because I do think Driscus, with his physicality and his explosiveness early on, I do think will probably give Sean problems and probably win 1 or 2 of the first 2 or 3 rounds here. I think he's going to have early success, and I think it's going to take Strickland some experience, some time to warm up, and if he works his way into the fight into the third and fourth round, I think that's when it really starts to favor him. Drick has never been in a fourth round, I don't think. Maybe he was back in before the UFC, but he definitely hasn't been in a fourth round in the UFC. No, I don't think he's been in a round 4 at all. And he beat Tavares by decision. He finished Till in the third round, but just not a whole lot of experience in these later fights for DDP. But he does allegedly have the nose fixed now. The breathing problem is supposed to be fixed, and I can't stress enough how impressive it was for DDP to finish Robert Whittaker. I did not see that shit happen, and he not only knocked him out, he looked like he was in control from the jump. And the way he was taking Whittaker down and passing his guard and beating him up on the ground, man, that was one of the most surprising fights of the entire year last year. I could not believe what was happening in that fight. So I hate to pick against DDP because he's proven me wrong a lot of times, and he's just a physical specimen. But I will be picking Sean Strickland to get the win. I'll go with let's go with the fourth round knockout. I could see it being a fourth type fight for Sean. And I think I'm gonna go small on Sean before the fight, maybe to win a unit, and then look to add even more as the fight goes on. But I wouldn't be mad at DDP winning, man. This guy has just proven me wrong time and time again, and he puts on incredible fights, and he will be a good champion. So just an amazing main event, man. Can't wait for that one. And as Ozzy said, though, throughout the rest of the card, really lacks that key fight. And I think that's very evident by the co-main event here, which is for the vacant Bantamweight Championship in the women's division. Raquel Pennington, Maria Bueno Silva. Odds for this one, -157. Rocky Pennington, +137. I like Pennington. I'm not a huge fan of Silva. And in a fight like this, my inclination is to lean with the person I like more in Pennington, but I'm prepared to be let down here. I think Bueno Silva is gonna find a way to win the fight, but I have very little analysis or conviction here. Breaking news, I don't know about for you, Ozzy, but I did not tape this fight. I did not spend any time rewatching Raquel Pennington lull women to 29,
It's
28
brutal.
decisions in the clinch. I
You
mean,
don't appreciate Raquel Penny. Raquel Pennington's a father as well now. She's a dad, and
yeah,
you're not even giving her the respect
I like
of
her.
watching her fights.
Come
Okay.
on, bro. You didn't rewatch any Rocky Pennington fights this week.
Bro, I've bet on every Rocky fight. I think I skipped the Ketlin one, but other than that, since even on Holly Holm, even when she fought Holly Holm, dude, I bet
Mm,
on her.
damn.
I
I mean,
think
I'm a
I've bet on
supporter. I'm a
Rocky
supporter. I
all
like
her
her.
fights since the Aldana fight. I think
No,
I've been on her every
so
time.
just to finish for me, no dollars on this fight for me. I hope Rocky wins. Um, but no real conviction on anything for me here. I would like to hear your pick and if you see any way to bet on this fight.
I mean, I like Raquel Pennington to win this one. As an underdog here, I just feel that Bueno Silva. Yeah, I mean, those girls that she's submitted. I don't know. I feel like does Lena Landsberg train MMA? Like,
No,
do you think?
she's 42.
Like, does Holly Holm? You know she doesn't do jujitsu, bro. There's no way any. What girl is guillotining Holly Holm like that she's training with? She doesn't
No,
do it.
none.
Whereas I feel that Raquel Pennington, via being with Tisha Torres, they live in like Colorado, wherever the hell they live. They actually train. They do stuff. And I just feel that some of the stuff that like Bueno Silva sometimes does, like she like throws calf kicks. She does like she uses good tools at her disposal. But I just feel that a lot of times she's kind of like built her game on um, going for high risk stuff, sometimes being the better athlete. But when then now maybe you're not the better, maybe you could be considered the better athlete, but Raquel is a dude. Okay, let's put it, like in a good way. And she's stronger than her as well. I feel, she's a natural 135er. She's fought at 145, whereas Bueno Silva has predominant most of her career was at 125. So I just feel like I like the durability of Raquel. I feel that it's gonna be tough for Bueno Silva to hurt her with punches outside of maybe early on, because I do see Raquel, even if she's not effective early, maybe being able to get in the clinch and just slowing Bueno Silva down a little bit. And then maybe, the fight, there could be some variance late in the fight that could go in my favor with maybe Bueno Silva putting herself on her back or putting herself in a bad position where Raquel could, land some strikes and, dirty the fight up. So for sure at 145, 150, my pick is Raquel Pennington. And I will put a wager on her as well.
Mm. Yeah, maybe I should look into it more and maybe I'll come around to a wager. I mean, the one thing I don't like though is the women who have given Bueno Silva the most trouble are grapplers. Montana De La Rosa, Marion Moroz were able to put her against the cage, take her down. That's
Raquel
not
can do
really
that. Raquel
Raquel's not
can
gonna
do
take her
that,
down.
dude.
She can
She
put her against the
can.
cage. She's gonna put her against the
Raquel
cage.
can take her down, dude.
Yeah, but she's not gonna. She's not gonna go for it. Um, I mean, how many takedowns has she hit in her fights lately?
She's
Um,
strong.
Few. Maybe she's hit like one in some of her fights. But I think a Pennington win is like very reliant on clinching, getting her to the cage, landing some boxing. I just think it's gonna be a ugly, ugly decision. So I mean, I definitely think
Rocky.
Raquel's the side. Shitara training at ATT though with some good guys. Gloria DePaula, she's gotten thick, yo. She. I know you said she used to be 125, but she's gotten thick. And
She used to be
our
115, bro. Oh, you talking
wow,
about a bundle of silver? No, you talking about bundle of
yeah.
silver. My bad.
And Rocky, on the other hand, training with Miranda Maverick and Caitlin Chukagian, two of the
Let's
best women
go,
ever to fight in MMA. So,
dude.
yeah,
Raquel's gonna win this.
yeah, fuck it. I'll believe in Raquel. I'll pick Raquel. I'm a be a believer.
Raquel
Um,
got to keep the belt. She got to hold down the belt in the what division.
right. But I stand by the fact that you don't need to tape this fight. You just need to go with the vibes. There's nothing that watching these two women fight where you're going to be like, oh, that's going to come into factor here. No, no,
Listen, Raquel's got some quick hands, quick boxing. I feel if she
better
can
boxer
close the
by far.
distance, dude. If she can close the distance, dude, and not be in danger of this girl taking her down with like a blast double, she's gonna be able to win the fight. That's
Yeah.
how it like is
And I mean, Holm pinned her against
very
the fence
easy.
in the first round and won that round
Bueno
unanimously. I
Silva
mean,
is just not like technique, like move for move. She's like she lets you do stuff, and Raquel's not a girl that you want to let start going like building up like
mm.
confidence at a head of steam, dude. You don't want that. You won't want that.
What do you think about Raquel knockout 18 to
No,
1?
not gonna happen.
Okay, enough about that bullshit. We're moving on to Magny-Malott taking on
Matter
Neil
of fact, it
Magny.
is gonna happen because I want the glory when it hits. So yeah, 18-1, I'm on it.
There we go. The welterweight division, Mike-Malott getting the Magny litmus test here, and we got Malott at -400, Neil Magny +300. Holy shit, man! Neil Magny is still fighting in the UFC.
Neil
Y
Magny, Neil
Give
Magny,
break it
yeah.
down.
Neil Magny wins leader in at welterweight, which is an awesome record to have. Very, very GOAT record, right? Does Jim Miller have the record at lightweight? Is that my understanding?
Of
He has the
wins?
most. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
has
good.
to.
Yeah, I think he has the overall like any fighter, but
Yeah, I
I was
think so.
just thinking that in my head now. But yeah, so Magny's a tried and true vet. He's looked weak physically in his last few fights, right? Shavkat tossed him around. Ian Gary kicked his leg to smithereens, which was really embarrassing.
Phil
But
Rowe even wasn't an easy one.
Phil Rowe like kind of gave him, yeah, and we were on Magny there. You definitely bet him as well.
I did.
We liked Magny there, and he was just disappointing, kind of, again, like Phil Rowe's a welterweight, but he's a skinny guy. He cuts a lot of weight to get to 170. Traditionally, he kind of gets taken down and stuff like that. They were kind of 50-50 in the grappling and the clinch game and stuff like that. So I just feel that Mike Malott's jiu-jitsu game is legit. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt, very good no gi, knows the submissions and the meta and where like how he's chaining his attacks to keep you on your back and just threatening submissions. You know what I mean? Where you're trying to go to these high date because that was a big not a big issue, but something I was always mindful of when I was first having my first few amateur fights that the fights are 3 minutes long. So I have to take you down and and then still submit you while keeping you on your back or on the ground within 3 minutes. So you either want to get a takedown early or kind of, you want to strategize to if you get a takedown later on in the round, you want to try to be getting to dominant positions or a position to attack a submission. And that's what Mike Malott looks to do. So I feel that once the fight does hit the ground, if Neil Magny cannot get into a stalling position, he's just going to get cut through. You saw how Rafael Dos Anjos and Gilbert Burns
Gilbert Burns,
cut through,
yeah.
and Gilbert Burns, yeah, cut through his guard. Both of them as they got him to the ground, and I think Mike Malott has the opportunity to do the same thing. If Mike Malott gets a little tired, if Neil Magny can nullify that early, obviously Neil Magny is going to whip his ass in the third round, more than likely. But I would say Mike Malott is probably pretty reliable to get to his position to get a submission. So is a dog shot on Neil Magny a long like bad? I wouldn't say so, because I understand, but I feel like Mike Malott's coming in with an optimal game plan, and it's very likely to work. So I'll pick him by first round submission.
Nice. Um, yeah, I just went to the UFC records because you mentioned Jim Miller. Jim Miller is literally just all over this record book. Total fights, number one. Wins, number one. Finishes, number two. Submissions, number two. Fight time, number 6. 5. What a fucking man that guy is. Anyway,
And he's 40.
Neil
Man,
Magny
he's
Neil
40.
Magny has the most decision wins of anybody in UFC history at 14. And he's gotta have some of the most time as well. Yeah, number
Definitely.
9, 6.5 hours. Man, 6.5 hours watching Neil Magny
That's a
fight, that's
lot.
rough. I think
Yeah.
that'd be like a good, like, community service. Like,
I will say, yeah.
if
I will
if
say
anybody
Neil
in Canada,
Magny.
hold on. If anybody in
Yeah.
Canada, like, misbehaves this weekend, and they get arrested, they're too drunk, whatnot, their punishment should be to watch all 6.5 hours of Neil Magny fights. Go ahead.
Yeah, but as there's gonna be a time period in there where they're gonna like the fight because when his Kelvin Gastelum fight and what was the other fight? His Hector Lombard fight. Those both were hilarious fights. That people forget. People forget happened. Those are great. People should watch those. That's when I knew. That's knowing that happened. That's how I knew that there is no way Kelvin Gastelum was gonna beat Sean Brady. Dude. Like,
Mm.
just watch that fight and tell me.
Yeah, I don't have a super clear idea of how good Malott is. I think that I know that this is a significant jump up in competition for him. I mean, the guys he's fought in the UFC so far, honestly, suck in comparison to Neil Magny. Thuggett, Lainese, and Gall. So I mean, for him being, I definitely don't think he's proven enough to be 80% over Neil Magny. I mean, even though we're shitting on Neil Magny a little bit, I mean, he does provide a good litmus test for some of these younger fighters. So I mean, the fact that I think Neil Magny is the side to plus 300 wouldn't knock a small wager on him. You got to go with the decision as well, plus 500. Um, but like how does Malott's cardio look? Have we seen Malott in the second round in years? Oh well, he beat Fugget in the second round, but um outside of that, man, I mean, I don't think he's been in. He's last time he was in round two, or last time he was in round three was 2015. So like you said, how is he going to look in round three? We have no idea. How is he going to look on bottom if he gets stuck in the clinch? So I mean, there's still a good amount of questions left about
Yeah, and,
Malott
and
to
once
not.
Neil Magny is similar to Raquel, that like once he starts getting going, like he probably will put the beating on him a lot. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
because he low key he starts throwing like those weird ass like little punches. Like he'll throw like little like hammer punches and shit like that. Like he'll start busting you up pretty bad. Like it won't none of them will hurt that bad. But Malott will probably fall, dude. He like what's Neil Magny round like 3-2 KO or 3 KO? Let me look at
I
this real
bet
quick.
round three is probably 1600 minimum if I had to guess.
3K
Um,
3 KO is 37 plus 3700.
wow. What is three just straight up? 16, 24 to one or something maybe?
3 is
3000. Holy shit, I was off. 3400 it is. That's pretty good,
30,
man.
yeah, 30 to 1 is yeah, that's pretty good.
Good stabs there. Enough about that one though. Moving on to Premier Division fight: Chris Curtis, Marc-Andre Barriault. Odds for this one: Chris Curtis minus 192, MAB plus 167. Canada's own MAB in this one. A little bit similar to MAB's last fight against Anders. I just Curtis has less of a takedown threat than Anders does, but southpaw striker. You got to think that the southpaw boxing of Curtis is going to give MAB some problems. But MAB, we know what kind of fighter is, man. He's a come forward, absorb damage, and just absorb one to give you two type of fighter. And the guy is durable. He has good cardio. He pushes forward. So I mean, at this current price, I do think it is MAB or pass. I do see him getting lit up with straight punches from Chris Curtis here. But if he can absorb some of them early on and just continue on that pressure and get Curtis moving backwards and put up that typical high volume of strikes, man, I think MAB could, steal this one out. Especially he got some favorable judging on the last Anders fight. I definitely thought he lost the second round there, unanimously won it on all three judges' scorecards. So the crowd's going to be cheering for MAB, and MAB does typically win fights by decision. I saw our boy Chad the Gimp say that if you bet MAB, you might as well bet him by decision plus 425, and I agree. So maybe look for MAB live here or take that MAB by decision before the fight. But this is a fun one, man. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, so excuse me. Yeah, so Curtis is here. It's cool that they have him and Sean. They're keeping them together. Keeping hopefully they keep each other out of trouble. But yeah, he's ballooned a little bit to a bigger favorite this week. And while I understand it and appreciate Curtis's game, the boxing, the power that he brings in his strikes, how precise he is, and how he kind of looks to follow up. And he's historically very durable, right? 17 wins by knockout, only been finished by knockout one time in his career. And he's a vet of the game. Here, I mean, I I definitely favor Curtis just because I feel that the tempo of the fight, if it's on the feet, is definitely going to be in his favor with how clean he is, how he uses a little bit of that Philly shell, how like it's hard to hit him clean sometimes. Strikes kind of slide off of him a lot. You remember that Joaquin Buckley fight, right? Buckley was throwing a lot of big strikes, and they were looking like they were hurting him, but a lot of them were parried, weren't landing very cleanly. Whereas MAB, after he throws a lot of these strikes, he's very available to be hit and hit hard and hit cleanly. I don't think he's really gonna try to take Curtis down, but if he even does, I don't think it's gonna go very well for him. I don't really see him having too much of a grappling advantage. I would say, but it should be a banger. If Curtis can't hurt MAB, it's gonna be definitely a hard fight for him. Just because MAB is definitely not gonna go away. So I'm looking forward to watching it, but I would not want to lay juice on Chris Curtis, honestly. Just the Hermanson fight, I just remember that fight, too vividly. I was personally on Hermanson there, and obviously this guy doesn't move or have like a style like that, but I could just see Curtis being frustrated by a certain thing or starting off slow and not being able to land a big shot, and then it being a little sweaty when I needed him to win third round, where he's not necessarily doesn't necessarily have the better cardio, and I'm paying 2 to 1 on it. So I don't really think it's a good bet.
Yeah. And you said, you don't think MAB will take him down. I don't think so either. But I mean, Curtis's chance of landing a takedown are 0%. Like this guy doesn't
Yeah, he's
ever think
horrible.
about a takedown. So if anybody's having grappling success here, it is MAB. So
I
um,
actually think this fight will go to the judges' scorecards.
yeah, that's I think minus
I think like
105, I believe.
130. Oh, 140.
125. You're right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it will hit.
I
It'll
think
hit.
I think it's a sneaky one. I think people see Curtis obviously, but I feel that the style of MAB, like he kind of like uh suppresses shots a little, like the full power and wind up of him, just because he's always coming forward and he'll like jam your shots a little bit. So I feel like we could see like some dirty boxing in here and like a little bit of a slower fight.
And that's going to take us to the first fight on the main card, Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev. Evloev is the favorite, minus 211, coming back with Arnold Allen plus 181. Your turn to start this one off in the featherweight division.
Great featherweight fight here. Two top contenders. Two guys that I feel there is like a group of these late 20s guys that they hadn't really fought each other. That I thought it's good matchmaking. I like Evloev, and I think that his how he's built his game, it's been getting a lot more fluid than people give him credit for. He's getting more comfortable, kind of just like ripping uppercuts, throwing flying knees, and working, the working his way and blending, both sides of the Russians, right? You have like the Zabit Russians and you got like the Khabib Russians. And then you got the Russians like Evloev, who they're trying to, like mix it up, or like Uzman, they're Magomedov, that they're transcending, both of them. When they're using some wrestling, that's maybe their primary for Evloev. And Arnold Allen, he comes from the Faraz Sahabi camp, veteran guy, been 5 rounds before, so he should have the conditioning advantage or a cardio advantage, I think, maybe going into the late round, if he's able to get a stand up fight. And the thing that I like about him is that I think that his game plan is going to be good, whereas he's not going to be jumping on submissions like Nick Lentz did, like Diego, Lopes did, like even Dan Ige. I think Dan Ige didn't really jump on submissions, but I feel like he didn't always commit to just continue to wrestle, like counter wrestle, but don't go for these submissions because you're just not going to get them on this guy. Like these guys love when you go for their necks because they know how to roll and spin and stay on top of you. So I feel like this is gonna be a really good fight. I feel like Arnold Allen is sneaky here if he gets to a big enough price, but I just don't want to invest on him early. I want to see these guys. I want Arnold Allen to have a good first round. If he doesn't have a good first round, I don't really think that he's in that pair to get like like I feel he's really behind the 8 ball. But I don't think that he even if he won the first round, I don't think that he would be like a big favorite in like or the odds would change a huge amount unless he landed like a big strike. So I feel like there'd still be meat on the bone. So, but I like Arnold Allen potentially here if it gets above the plus 200 number pre-fight.
This is a good one. I really don't have any interest in betting the money lines here, because it's a tricky matchup. I mean, we haven't seen Arnold Allen face a grappler in a long time. And the guys that he did face did have some success against them. Most notably, Mads Burnell was out grappling him for the first 2 rounds of that fight, and he had a big comeback guillotine in the third round. Makwan Amirkhani also had some success. He shut some takedowns down from Jordan Rinaldi, Gilbert Melendez, Nick Lenst. But really, the past 4 fights, Holloway, Cater, Hooker, Youssef, none of those guys have wrestling. So it's going to be a new type of fight for Allen. I don't really think there's much like relevant data on how he's going to bode versus a relentless wrestler like that. So I do sort of lean Evloev's way from like a pure pick perspective because that just relentless takedown game of his, I think, just wins a lot of fights, man. And Evloev, I think he's what 7-0 in the UFC, 7 decisions. Um, yeah, not a finisher, so you obviously know why this one's -300 to go to the scorecards. It probably will hit the cards, and I think Allen might have success at times, fending off the takedowns, having success at distance with his strikes, but will inevitably get taken down at some key times in the fight and probably lose like a 29-28 here. But again, hometown, Allen he's British, but he trains in Canada. I think the crowd will definitely be behind him. So if these are close rounds, and Evloev at times, I wouldn't call him a lay in prayer, but at times he doesn't have the most emphatic rounds. So I could see this one being a tight decision. So no interest in bets for this one for me. And that's going to take us to the prelims. We have Brad Katona taking on Garrett-Armfield in the bantamweight division. Brad Katona is the favorite, -210. Armfield +180. Good matchup here. Both guys coming off of solid wins. Armfield getting the knockout as a dog over Kazama. Katona winning, I thought probably one of the better fights of the entire year last year against Cody Gibson. Just an absolute war, a high output war. And Katona dug deep to get big moments in that fight. He was losing at times and was able to hurt Gibson and win the rounds back. And Brad's conditioning is phenomenal, man. This guy is just a reliable 3-round fighter, and we can't say the same about Armfield. Has not really gone late in fights in the UFC, and even before the UFC, just not much decision experience. I think he's 1-1 in decisions, and that one win was a split decision win. So I just think the fact that Katona is so much more experienced late in the fights. I do think this one is going to hit the late rounds, and I just got to favor Katona there with the more experience. So I'll go Brad by decision. That's definitely the most likely outcome here according to the odds, but I do think it happens. But I'm looking forward to this one. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, originally I was wanting to back Armfield, but I just feel he's a square dog this week. I feel that people saw the knockout that Armfield had last fight. They see Brad, they think that Armfield with the reach advantage is going to be able to land a lot of strikes. But like you said, I feel that the conditioning of Brad and the veteran nature of his um, fight record and career, I just think he's coming into this fight ready. And he's going to show up, and it's going to be hard for Garrett Armfield to get him out of there. And then from there, Brad is going to chip away at him, inside leg kicks, jabs, straight shots, and he's going to pick up steam and maybe eventually win a decision. But I could definitely see uh, Armfield just not being able to keep up with the pace. Like I don't see Armfield being able to do what Cody Gibson did. So I would definitely lean Katona, but maybe Katona 3 or by decision, something like that. But
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
Gibson
not.
fought his ass off, was, boxing him up, output, and it just still wasn't enough, man. I mean, that was um I would really recommend rewatching that fight. I think it's like a sleeper, one of the most underrated fights of the entire year. So, moving on to another prelim fight in the featherweight division. This time, Charles Jourdain taking on Sean Woodson. Odds to this one have Jourdain as the favorite. Pulling them up. My fight odds is stuck. Jourdain -220, Woodson +185. Give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so I'll keep it short here. Woodson or Jourdain this week is a very popular play. I understand it, but it's a little bit too high for me now at this point. I did try to go in a little bit. It's like minus like 185 or somewhere in that neighborhood. But how people see it is Woodson, those long legs, susceptible to leg kicks. Jourdain's gonna be able to launch combinations, maybe have the power advantage, but he kind of just forces the exchanges better that he wins. And Woodson just looked a little tentative in his last few fights. And his shin at 145 might not be the best, but I traditionally have not overly trusted Charles Jourdain, so I'm not gung ho about this one. But there are a lot of people that do well, in my opinion, that are very, very excited about the spot for Charles Jourdain. So I'll heed ground to them, as I do not have the convicted play on this.
Yeah, me neither. I would lean Jourdain, and I would lean him by decision, which again I think is the most likely outcome here, according to the odds. I don't even let me see what that line is. Actually, well, no, Jourdain ITD is actually slightly more favored. So Jourdain by decision at plus 200, I think is pretty good. I would say that's the most interesting bet of the fight for me. I mean, Woodson sucks at finishing, man. This guy can't finish nothing. I mean, we just saw Jamal Emmers blast Bazooki out of there in a minute, and Woodson had him. I mean, Bazooki was dead tired in the second round, and Woodson just totally played with his food there and found a way not to finish that fight. But Jourdain does find finishes, man. He does find a way to get the fights done. By submission lately, has been locking up some nice subs. But I'll go Jourdain by decision on this one. I think it'll be an interesting fight, man. I could see it being competitive at a bunch of different realms. But Sean Woodson, man, never been super impressed with the guy, and I think that he's gonna find a way to fuck this one up. So I agree with the steam this week on that one. But one of the least convictions fight. Oh my gosh, I had an aneurysm talking there.
Least
Well,
convicted,
yeah, there
least
you go.
convicted,
There we go.
conviction.
Thank you. Next one's a good one. Bantamweight. Surrey City. I'm gonna call him Circuit City. I think that's a good nickname for the guy. If you guys remember that, American consumerism. Versus Tavares. We have, or is it Tavares or Tavares? Whatever, Tavares. We'll go with. Damn, I practiced the fucking pronunciations before this for this fight, and it all came unraveling there. I'm embarrassed. Sorry, Ozzy. So, odds for this one, City minus 175, Tavares plus 150. I'm on Tavares. I bet him in the first fight, I think, on Contender Series. I thought he was doing real good. Then he got caught a little shot there. Very universally agreed upon early stoppage. And I just don't see anything too impressive from City, honestly. So, I mean, I think the guy is a good striker. I think they're both good strikers, but I just think this one's a lot closer than plus 150. And I think people are getting a little fooled by, City just won. He's going to win again. The fight was only 4 or 5 months ago. He's going to win again. But no, I'm going Tavares here at the plus 150 price tag for a unit. I just don't think you could be
What
too wrong. I mean, I think they're going to box. I think they're going to, have a good chance to at knocking each other out. And I'm going to go Tavares.
what price did we get on Tavares last time? Was there like 200, 205, something like that? 210?
Let us see. Let's pull it up on the good
Maybe
old
200. Yeah, let's see do that.
155.
Oh, it was only
155.
155? Oh, I thought it was a little bit bigger. But yeah, I was on him as well. I thought that, I think this kid is solid. Obviously, I think though he does have some durability concerns. He got dropped with that shot right, sat down. He ate a head kick one time too, that kind of flattened him a bit. But I feel that I like what he does. Like he kind of like pulls guys in with his shots. He's got like he gives me like a little bit like of John Dodson vibes with like certain things that he does. But yeah, I definitely think that this fight is potentially a lot closer, or it's definitely winnable for Tavares. And at like that 160 area, 155, 150, I think he's an okay dog play, not an overwhelming underdog play. But I think both these guys are actually okay. And I think Tavares is potentially a pretty good action fighter here at 135, and City is maybe a decent prospect. But I'll lean with the plus money.
City is, I believe, Canadian though, Ukrainian Canadian. So he's got
Mm, that's
two
good.
things going for him this week. But we'll be both be on Tavares there. And next fight is the women's strawweight division. Jillian Robertson, Poliana Viana. Robertson been steamed all the way down to minus 300. Viana coming back at plus 250. And your turn to go first on this one.
I don't really like this fight that much. I mean, I feel like it's a good matchup for Jillian just because Polyviana has the wrestling and she's open to going into her closed guard, as ironic as that sounds. And then also Jillian should be a good enough grappler to not like get arm barred, you would think, like I mean, we saw how Polyviana lost to Tabitha Ricci, right? Like literally if Jillian wanted to, why can't she just take her down? and then stand up while Viana just stays laying down. I think that's why she got steamed, dude. Honestly, right? Like,
Yeah,
why can't that happen?
why
It could
not?
totally happen. It could totally happen because Polyana Viana is not going to defend a takedown, dude. So I can't bet her, dude. I hate Polyana Viana. I think didn't you convince me to bet Jin Yu Fry in her last fight against Polyana? Maybe.
I
Yeah.
think so, probably.
Yeah,
And then she
probably.
got knocked
But
out in like 30 seconds.
yeah, I just hate Polyana Viana, honestly. And it's just a ridiculous. Like when I bet her against Tabitha Ricci, which was dumb. That's on me. But when she does what she did, like I gotta cross you off, dude. If you're not gonna go into a fight and literally just lay down, like I can't. We
And
can't
she got
have.
she got smushed by Lucindo last fight too. Remember, submitted by Lucindo. I forgot
I
that shit
barely.
even happened.
I didn't watch. I didn't watch that fight, dude.
Yeah.
This is one fight where I didn't watch no tape for.
Arm triangled in the last one.
Yeah, I can't. I don't trust this lady.
It's a litmus test for Jillian, man. Like you said, I mean, she's so much better at MMA grappling. I mean, she has an understanding of wrestling, and she's good at jiu-jitsu, good at passing guard, good from top position. And I mean, if you're Jillian Robertson, you should be just defending arm bars and triangles all camp long. You should be just drilling, say, hey, this girl, all she does is arm bar. I mean, Viana's got a few blitzing little strikes, but man, she can't stay up. She's, very light in the ass, as you like to say. And she's going to get immediately taken down anytime Jillian tries. And it's just a matter of, can Jillian be intelligent enough not to get caught with Viana's only move, the armbar? And I think she will be able to do that. But minus 300, fuck that. I mean, I think she was in the minus, yeah, she was minus like 160, 180 at one point. That was a good bet. But now, hell no, I don't think there's anything to be bet there. Let's see. Maybe like, the only risk I do probably see this one ending inside the distance, but the only risk is the thing you just mentioned with Robertson. Maybe she just stands up and lets her, continue to just lay on her back. But the under is a juice to fight to end ITD at minus 175. That's pretty rare for women's MMA, but with how bad Viana is, I don't think it's too far fetched. Moving on to the next one in the welterweight division, Sam Patterson moving up to 170, taking on Johan Lainese. Lainese favored minus 148, Patterson plus 128. You're fired up about this one. This might be your favorite fight on the card. I'm gonna let you go on this one.
Man, yeah, great fight here. We got Sam moving up to was it 170? And he's taking on the total fraud, the biggest fraud on the roster, bro. Johan Lainez on his fourth fight in the UFC here, right? That's the last fight on your contract. And Sam Patterson, he's 9 months off from his last fight. But I feel like the narrative around Sam Patterson is like he's made of glass and this and that. And yeah, in a few of his other fights, yeah, he got kind of dropped and stuff like this. And he came back. But in his last fight, I think people are making it sound like he kind of got like one punch knocked out, or like the first time he got hit. He kind of got the same thing that happened to Bruno Ferreira. He throws like a leg kick, the guy hits him, he falls to the ground, and by the time he kind of like sees what's going on when he's on the ground, this little Ash Moose guy just dropped like a crazy, barrage of punches and finished him. And then he did some grappling on the ref afterwards. But is what it is. He's gonna have 15 more pounds in his brain and the rest of his body here from not cutting the weight. And the guy's just pretty well rounded. He could strike on the feet. He's not a bad grappler. Maybe positionally, Johan, if he's strong and committed early on, to get some positions with the grappling. But Johan is sloppy. He's not a good control grappler. And I feel that as long as Sam Patterson stays active, he should be able to outlast Johan, even if Johan starts off well. So if you don't want to bet him early, whatever. But I just think that Sam Patterson should be favored. Maybe not a complete flip of the line, but he should definitely be the favorite. In my opinion, so would I make it? I got a multi-unit bet on Sam Patterson. I just think that he's
Multi.
very likely. Yeah, multi-units. I just think that he's very likely to be able to win even round one. And if he doesn't win round one, I think he should be able to whip this guy's ass as this fight goes on, and should be able to finish him.
I like it, and I'm in agreement. Not as much analysis as you, but I just think Johan is so bad that him as a favorite in the UFC is worth a 1 unit fade. Patterson, I think his skills are okay. Um, and I think he was just too tall and cutting too much weight for 155. And I think moving up to 170 is going to be a good move for him. Had that nasty knockout, slammed the back of his head on the mat and took a lot of time off. So that's good to see. And I think he's gonna, come back and get his first win in the UFC here. So just one unit as the underdog. Don't overthink it, and we're on to the next.
This boy was starving at 155, bro.
I mean, he's what, like
Starving.
6'3" at 155 or something. Yeah, I mean that
Dude, he
didn't work
was
out. Didn't work out for Tom Nolan last week. I tell you what.
that shit don't add up, bro. He was starving. So this is
And
gonna be a
if
good weight move for him, dude.
I think you mentioned this, but if Patterson can make it out of round one, where Lainese has some power in round one, right? He swings big punches in round one. He has to be respected early on. But I mean, if Patterson gets out of round one, man, he should be golden. So look for live bets, maybe even a round two, round three bet on Patterson here. I don't know the odds on that, but I'm sure they're pretty good. If I had to guess, let's see, Patterson round two. Oh no, never mind. Five
No,
fifty nine hundred.
they know what's gonna happen, dude. But I
That's
just
true,
don't. One plus 125 on Patterson just does not make any sense to me. It
right?
could be my second Phil Halls in a row, but it just doesn't make sense.
No, no, no. That's not. Lainese is no Bruno Bulldog. But
That's what I'm
um,
saying.
women's flyweight next: Jasmine Jasudavicius, Priscilla Cachoeira. Jasmine minus 405, Cachoeira plus 305. I mean, yeah, Jasmine's probably just gonna bully her, take her down, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, Jasmine will win by. I don't know if she's gonna win by decision or finish. I'd like to hear your thoughts, if you have any thoughts on if she's gonna win, how she's gonna win.
Yeah, I mean, Jasmine's just a clumsy girl. So, hopefully she's not, kind of like trying to die, like running on her knees at this girl, and trying to do a god doubles, acting like she Jordan Burroughs and gets nailed with uppercut and knocked out. It can happen. But I would think that she submits Priscilla Cachoeira. Rear naked choke.
Wow. I actually don't think she has many submissions in her career, though. Is it? Let me think. Only one sub. Yeah. So I mean, I understand some people wanting to chase a finish prop here, but I
If
mean, it was in her first
if
fight back in 2019. Go ahead.
if Priscilla Cachoeira bites her and is DQ'd, you would
Mm,
have to have knockout, right? Knockout
you
or
would.
DQ,
You
right?
would. Yeah.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
just
So
amazing that
ITD.
Priscilla actually knocked out Lipski, the last woman to beat Lipski, which is pretty remarkable in retrospect.
She murdered Lipsky.
Enough about that one. I'll We're gonna finish things up in the men's flyweight division. Cannot wait for this one. Malcolm Gordon versus Jimmy Flick. Odds for this one: Malcolm Gordon minus 220, Jimmy Flick plus 185. So this line dropped on Fan or DraftKings when there were a bunch of openers. Maybe a month or something ago. And I said, you know what? Malcolm Gordon, I know he's fragile. I know he has problems, but so does Jimmy Flick. Jimmy Flick is also fragile, also has a lot of problems. And I went ahead and I fired away on Malcolm Gordon minus 115. And the line didn't move for a few weeks. And I was like, did I just do something really stupid? Like, is there really that much of an edge on Malcolm Gordon? And fortunately for me, it just took a month, but the market is agreeing because my man has been steamed to minus 220, which I think has gotten a little out of hand. I think maybe minus 150 to 175 would be fine. 220 is a little wild. But I mean, Flick is mostly just a submission artist, but Gordon is actually a pretty good grappler, man. When this guy tangles up and just grapples, he's pretty good at just grappling overall and avoiding subs. He avoided a lot of Mokaev subs. I think he might have even won a round from Mokaev, the second round. Um, and on the feet, I think Gordon should be better, but it's going to be a crapshoot on the feet. I mean, both guys are fragile and hurtable, but Flick with him, I mean, the way he's been bodied in his past two fights, been knocked out in both of them, didn't really have much fight in him in either one of those. He was on the verge of retiring before that, and then even the fight before that, Cody Durden was boxing him up before him landing a flying triangle. Basically, hasn't looked good in a fight since his Contender Series fight way back in September of 2020. I think that Malcolm just got a little more in the tank, better overall fighter, had a little bit better of a career actually, and he's fighting in Canada too. So I'm going with our boy Malcolm Gordon to win the fight.
I hate Michael Gordon. I'm never paying juice, even pick 'em juice on him to win a UFC fight. Himmy flick, if he doesn't get hit, he should be able to be maybe competitive. I mean, the thing is, he lost to that. What was his name? The Brazilian. I forget his name.
Costa.
Costa. He lost to Costa, but man, Costa was hitting him hard, dude. Uh, Malcolm Gordon is not. He does not have the capability to hit him as hard. So I'm
True.
going with Himmy. I'm going with
Well,
Himmy.
a point to contradict that would be maybe Gordon decision. I mean, his ITD is -150. I think that's shit, but decision plus
That's
400. I mean,
crazy, dude.
if well, the fight to just go the distance overall is plus 275. But I think that's very, very off because these guys have been getting finished by guys who hit hard or who can submit you. But I think with them being both, kind of fragile, weak guys themselves, I think the finishing equity is going to drop off a lot. And we might just see Gordon in top position for a lot of the fight, or you might see competitive back and forth. I think that the odds
Dude,
on the
minus 150 on
oh,
Gordon inside
that is
distance.
atrocious.
There's no way that could be accurate.
I mean, they have Gordon
There's
KO at
zero chance.
plus 200. I
Dude,
mean, what
I'm gonna go on DraftKings and I'm trying to get a not Gordon inside the distance.
oh,
I'm
yeah,
betting
that'll be
that.
that'll be plus 120.
I'm in
So,
there. Come on.
yeah.
I'm in that. I'm in.
But that's gonna do it. Do it for this podcast. Are we doing
That's crazy.
the wrapping up segment? Are we doing that?
Sure, sure,
Okay.
sure.
Um, I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and give you
Let's
some
go.
bets here. Okay, so we're gonna
Please.
go. We're gonna go Rocky Pennington money line plus
Thank you.
137. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
go Sam Patterson money line plus 128, and we're gonna
Ooh.
go Ramon Tavares plus 150.
Ooh, FMK. Man, I think for me it's a little easy on those. I'm gonna fuck Raquel. Like we said, we had a conversation about this earlier. Raquel, she's done that before, so it's not all. It's not totally below her or above her, depending on your definition. So she's gonna do well. I think she's gonna be able to give Mara Bonosova a good fight. I'm gonna kill Tavares. He's got killed one time. I don't know if that guy is not reffing, and we could get a shitty ref again. So if it's in Canada, dude. This guy's the local guy, so if he's taking a seat, it might not go good for him on the scorecards or with the referee. And so that means I'm gonna marry Sam Patterson, young
Mm.
lad. I'm what's the thing called that Ian Gary's girl did to him when like a
Pegged him?
no when like a cougar like a older
No,
chick
foisted. No, I don't know the word that,
some shit
unfortunately. Oh, yeah.
groom. So Sam Patterson's second UFC fight, we're getting in with him. This getting dog money on him is ridiculous. Is
A gift.
yes. All right, let me give you a few.
Hit me with
Sorry,
some
my
shit.
bad. Yeah, hit me with your best shot. Okay, so let's go. Charles Jourdain minus 200. Um, Evloev minus 205, and Brad Katona minus 190.
Mm.
FMK.
Those
These
lines
three
are a little
favorites.
stale. You gotta refresh those. Those are a little off.
No,
Um,
those are they're right about right.
mm, so we
What?
got Evloev minus 211, Jourdain minus 220.
Dude, I'm telling you on DraftKings, bro. Like these prices are available.
Oh,
Why
okay, okay.
you cock why you cockright and Dave Mason and bet online? Like there's not
We
15
have
fucking sports
That's true.
books, you
We
idiot.
have a partnership. Okay. So Jourdain, Evloev, and the last
Patona.
one, Katona. Okay.
Patona.
That's a good one. That's a tough one. Um, we're gonna mm, mm. Okay.
It's not that
We're
tough,
gonna
bro. Come on.
we're gonna marry Brad Katona. We marry the
Oof.
cardio advantage. We're gonna fuck Charles Jourdain because Woodson stinks. And Evloev, we're gonna have to kill, even though he's the best fighter out of the three. I think he's got the best opponent out of the three too. So I'm gonna have to get rid of that one. So
Nice.
those are I'm not interested in any of those bets, honestly. Money line wise, not really too much here. I got that early Gordon. I'm gonna be on Patterson. I'm gonna be on Tavares. I'm already on Tavares. And outside of that, man, not Strickland in the main event. Maybe some MAB live, but yeah, just an okay card. But we are off next week, and then we come back with two Premier Division main events back to back at the Apex: Dolidze, Imavov, Hermanson, Pfeiffer. So we got three Premier Division main events in a row. That's a good start to the year, and it's good to be back in the swing of things. So thanks for joining me, Ozzy, as always. Um, who's your pick to win the Super Bowl, Ozzy?
Baltimore Ravens.
I like it. I will agree. So I hope that happens. I either hope it's the Ravens or some team not the 49ers, like if like the fucking Packers can pull it off or something. So all right, everyone, enjoy the fights. Hope you all win some bets, and we'll see you all before the next UFC event 2 weeks from now. Peace out, everyone.